Here is exactly how the CAPM exam works and how to pass it. 150 questions, 3 hours, no work experience required at all, and a blueprint that catches people out. The classic plan-driven project management everyone associates with this certification is the smallest domain on the test. The CAPM, the Certified Associate in Project Management, is issued by the Project Management Institute. It is PMI's entry-level credential, and the headline fact is the eligibility. Unlike the PMP, the CAPM requires no project management work experience whatsoever. That is what it is for. It is the certification you take to get into the field rather than to prove you have already been in it. You sit it either at a Pearson VUE test center or online with a remote proctor. It is not purely multiple choice, either. PMI uses drag-and-drop items and short animated scenarios alongside the standard questions, so practicing only 4-option recall leaves you surprised on the day. There is also a scheduled 10-minute break that appears once you finish question 75. 150 questions in 180 minutes, but only 135 are scored. 15 are pretest questions. PMI is trialing for future exams, and they do not count. You are not told which 15. That works out to about 70 seconds per question, including the ones that do nothing for your score. Now the passing score, and the honest answer is that there is not one you can look up. PMI does not publish a passing percentage or a raw number of correct answers. The cut is set by psychometric analysis, and your result comes back not as a score, but as a performance rating in each domain: above target, target, below target, or needs improvement. So do not go hunting for the number of questions you need. It is not published, and every figure you will find quoted online is somebody's guess. Eligibility is refreshingly short. You need a secondary degree, meaning a high school diploma, a GED, or the global equivalent, and you need 23 hours of project management education completed before you sit the exam. That is it. No logged project hours, no supervisor sign-off. PMI's own entry course satisfies the 23 hours, but so does any qualifying course, and you are not required to buy PMIs. If you do not pass, you may attempt the exam up to 3 times within 1 year, paying each time. After that, you wait out the year before the clock resets. Now the blueprint, which is the reason to keep watching. The exam has 4 domains. Project management fundamentals and core concepts is 36%. Business analysis frameworks is 27%. Agile frameworks and methodologies is 20%. And predictive, plan-based methodologies is 17%. Sit with those numbers because they are not what the name of this certification suggests. Predictive, plan-based project management, the charts and the work breakdown structures and the phase gates, is the smallest domain on the exam at 17%. Business analysis, which many candidates do not expect to see at all on a project management credential, is 27%, and Agile is 20%. Put those two together and 47% of the exam, nearly half, is ground that a traditional waterfall study guide barely covers. If you prepare for the CAPM as though it were a small PMP, you will prepare for the smallest piece of it. 3 real questions from the free bank. First, fundamentals. A hospital runs payroll every 2 weeks and separately is installing a new patient record system that goes live once testing finishes. Which is the project? The record system, because it is temporary and unique. Payroll is operations, because it is ongoing and repetitive. Temporary and unique against ongoing and repeating is the distinction the whole first domain rests on, and the wrong options here all try to tempt you with funding, importance, or which department does the work. None of those decide it. Second, agile. Which project characteristic most strongly indicates that an adaptive approach fits better than a predictive one? Requirements that are expected to emerge and change as stakeholders see early results. That is the whole test. If you cannot know the requirements up front, iterating beats planning. The distractors describe a well-understood repeatable product, a fixed detailed scope with an absent customer, and a single handover at the end. Every one of those points back toward predictive. Third, business analysis, the domain people do not revise. You need input from several hundred users across many locations, and you want comparable, quantifiable answers quickly. Which elicitation technique fits? A structured questionnaire sent to all of them. Interviews and shadowing do not scale to hundreds, and a workshop cannot physically hold them. Notice the question is decided by the constraints, scale, and the need for comparable data, not by which technique is best in the abstract. So, 4 ways to prepare. 1. Allocate your study time to the published weights, which means business analysis and agile get roughly half of it. That single reallocation is the highest value thing in this video. 2. Learn the vocabulary precisely, because the fundamentals domain is 36% and it is almost entirely definitional. Project against operations, program against portfolio, deliverable against benefit. 3. Practice the question formats, not just the content, so the drag and drop and scenario items are not new to you on exam day. 4. Read for the constraint in the stem. As the last question showed, these items are usually decided by a detail about scale, timing, or availability rather than by a rule you memorized. To recap, 150 questions, 135 scored, 3 hours, with a break after question 75. No experience required, just a secondary degree and 23 hours of project management education. No published passing score, only domain performance ratings. 3 attempts a year. And predictive project management is 17% of an exam that is nearly half business analysis and agile. Practice all 7 areas free at .com/en/CAPM fundamentals and core concepts. Scope, schedule, and cost, risk, quality, and resources, predictive delivery, agile frameworks, and both business analysis areas in English, Chinese, or Spanish, with a full explanation on every answer.